Yeah, I think that was the right button. Hey, Kate. Remember me? I know I told you like a month ago that I was going to make another one of these videos. Probably more than a month ago at this point. New spot. There's no cool place to film stuff with books in the back. So I'm just going to sit on this couch. New spot is cool. We don't need to talk about that. Anyway, yeah, no, we really don't need to talk about that because I wanted to talk about books. I got off to a really good start at the start of the year. It is... Nope, that's not how you check. How the hell... There. It is April 4th, so I missed a chunk of the year about making book videos. I haven't made one of these in a really long time. This might actually be the first one this year. But I went on a run in January, read like some really cool books, so I'm probably not even going to make this video long enough to catch up with all of the books that I've read from the start of January till now, because that's a lot. This is probably just going to be like, I might run through the best ones that I've read in just January, or I might run through the best ones that I've read all the way from January till now. We'll see how we go. Apologies for going on my phone. I absolutely could not remember the name of half of these books if I didn't have them on here. First awesome book that I read this year, Things Become Other Things, a walking memoir by Craig Mudd. So I had just got back from, or not just, I got back from Japan in December, and this is a book about a dude, written by a dude, who goes on these ridiculously long walks through Japan. It is also the nicest book I have ever owned, like physically. I can't show you 90% of these books physically, but I read it physically, I promise. It is like, the binding is perfect, and the page, like the paper is so thick, and I'm going to shut up because I will talk about this book forever, but if you see a copy, buy it, because it's like the nicest book you'll ever hold, and also like really well written. I just really enjoyed it. Things Become Other Things, Craig Mudd. He's also a really good talker. I've heard him on a podcast or two, and he's just got like this really like steady, really calming, that's weird, calming voice. I read Breakfast at Tiffany's, which, to be honest, I couldn't tell you much of anything that happens. I read it because I wanted to watch the movie. So I was like, I want to read the book before I watch it. I can't, I'm not going to say too much on it, except I did write a little, this might be the fastest I've ever liked a character that you're probably not supposed to root for. If you haven't seen the movie or read the book, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll just leave it at that. But that was cool. There's a couple poetry books in here, which is cool. Here's one that I've actually already spoken to you about, Deep Work by Cal Newport. You know me, whole anti-phone Luddite and all that fun stuff. I've spoken to you about this one because I thought it was kind of not a bad book. I would recommend it to some people, but it's like, the main reason I would recommend it is because I have a hard time not recommending something when the whole thesis of the book can basically be boiled down to, hey, maybe we shouldn't spend as much time on these phones and screens and devices and all that sort of stuff. I will kind of always push, that I'll kind of always push stuff like that. But yeah, Cal Newport. Sorry, people keep walking past, so I keep... One that I was really looking forward to that I kind of didn't like as much as I really was hoping that I would. We Did Okay Kid, a memoir by Anthony Hopkins. I love Anthony Hopkins. He's one of like my favorite like top 5 actors for sure. Like I really like, I want to say everything that he's done. I haven't seen everything that he's done, but I really like him. And he's of the age where it's like, I'm kind of terrified that I'm going to wake up one day and it's going to be like, breaking news, Anthony Hopkins has passed away. And that would kind of rock me. So when I found out that he was writing a book, I got really excited. It's not bad. It's like the definition of the phrase, not bad. It isn't bad. It's just like, I had such high hopes. And it just wasn't bad, which, considering how much I like the guy, I was like, I want it to be amazing. I want it to blow my socks off. And it was just not bad. Scorsese on filmmaking and faith. 90% on faith. Thank you, Mr. Scorsese. It was really interesting. It was a different formatted book. Like it's not like a biography or a novel. It's like a conversation. So it was good. It was interesting to read. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're really into like the faith side of stuff. I really like his movies. I know like, he's one of, if not the most famous filmmakers ever, and his movies are ridiculous. And if you're a really hardcore fan of his, I'm sure it's like it's mind-blowing. I'm sure it's great. it goes a lot heavier on the faith than on the filmmaking side of stuff, which isn't bad, but it's just not really for me. I'm not a huge religion book person, and that's coming from someone who's read the Bible. The Way Through the Woods on Mushrooms and Morning by Longwit Woon. I gotta be honest, can't remember a thing about that book. Okay, and this is where my current obsession sort of starts. The last couple of months, since like the start of the year, I realized I know the phrase Vietnam War. I know nothing about it. I don't know why it happened. I don't know which countries were involved. I don't know anything. Like I know the phrase. I know where it took place for the most part. I hope. And when I realized all of that, I was like, cool. This is a pet project. I want to learn about it. I just want to be able to hold a conversation, hold my own when talking about it. So the first one that I picked up, Vietnam, A War Lost and Won by Nigel, I want to say Cawthorne, could be wrong. And it was good. It was, not good, it was actually great. It was like the perfect first book to read about the Vietnam War, like beginner friendly, not boring, not made for 3-year-olds, not that 3-year-olds are going to be reading books about the war. Anyway, if you know someone who wants to learn something about the Vietnam War, first book, would recommend. Big Sur by Jack. I'm not going to try and say that last name. I'm sorry, Jack. I didn't really gel with this book. I basically saw the word surfing on the back and was like, sweet, I'll give it a shot, because I read Barbarian Days a couple of years ago, and it was like the most knock your socks off, like had never heard of it. I'd never heard anyone say a good thing about it. And then I read it, I was like, this book is absolutely amazing. That's a memoir. This one's not really, but I was kind of hoping for that, and I got this, which isn't a bad thing. I just kind of, again, higher hopes made it feel not so great, but I might go back to it one day. Speaking of going back, I did, even though I was kind of on the Cal Newport deep work, I did then pick up Slow Productivity, The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout, which is, I don't know if you would call it a sequel, but it's his next book, or I'm not even going to say next, it's a book that he also wrote. Because like I said, if the thesis of the book can be boiled down to spend less time on screens and maybe you'll feel better, I'm kind of a sucker for it. I do think I'd say deep work is better than this one. Little quote, this is what ultimately matters, where you end up, not the speed at which you get there. I really like that. So that was Slow Productivity. And this is where the second... Sorry, my camera is making noises and the screen's too far away for me to really see much. Okay, and then we get the second of my two little obsessions at the moment, nuclear power. So environmental science, and I realized I don't really know a lot about it. Like, everyone knows the big bad thing happened here. There's bombs and there's energy and there's all this sort of stuff. So nuclear was like my next, I want to educate myself. I realized that I'm saying I want to educate myself about the Vietnam stuff and about the nuclear stuff. I am basically bouncing back and forth. So I'm not going to catch up. Sorry. Let me start having two conversations at once. I've decided now, I'm not going to catch up to where my reading's at the minute, because there's just too much to talk about now, the nuclear stuff. I'm bouncing back and forth between nuclear and Vietnam. Basically, I will read everything I can about Vietnam until I get borderline sick of reading, and then I'll switch to nuclear and do like the same sort of thing over there. The first nuclear book that I read was The Power of Nuclear by Marco Vischer. I want to say Vischer. I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It was kind of just like the first thing that I saw once I made the decision that I was going to educate myself about nuclear energy, and then like its sustainability stuff. It was really pro. And that's one thing that I've realized since I've started reading nuclear energy. Like the Vietnam War, you can find some really nuanced stuff, like some pros, some cons, some, this person was an idiot, but this guy was really smart, and here's how we should have done it, and blah, blah, blah. Nuclear, I haven't been able to find any sort of stuff like that. All of the books that I have found have been really, really strong pro-nuclear. And I think that would be because everyone knows the bad. Like, it's kind of easy to be like, if you have someone talking to you and being like, oh, nuclear energy is great, blah, 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 blah. Chernobyl. Understandably, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's kind of hard to find a nuanced, here are the pros and here are the cons of nuclear energy, because a lot of the people that I've found so far that write anything about it, work in it, believe really strongly that it should be used, and it feels to me like they think it's on them to make sure we start using it. So if you ever come across a book that's about nuclear energy specifically, that isn't full pro, there's I chased down some biographies like the Doctor of Hiroshima, which I'm interested in. I haven't read it yet, but I'm after like a science sort of based book that will go into the pros and cons of nuclear energy. Anyway, I'm going to stop there because it takes months for me to make one of these videos, apparently. So hopefully I get this out soon-ish. Actually, I probably shouldn't have said it's April, because if I don't get this video out in April, I'm going to look real nuts. Anyway, I hope you're doing good. Thank you for watching this far, if you have watched this far. And hopefully I'll get this out kind of soon.